I thought grief was the hardest part. I was wrong. That night, during the storm, he looked at me, not like a son. And for a moment, I didn't stop him. What kind of mother does that? Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated on our latest stories. I never imagined I'd be telling anyone this. Honestly, I'm still not sure I believe it myself. But the truth has a way of pressing against your chest until you let it out. My husband, Nathan, passed away 3 months ago. A sudden heart attack. One moment he was here, sitting at the kitchen table with his usual half-smile and coffee in hand. The next, he was gone, just like that, and in the silence that followed, something inside me went cold. Our house felt emptier than I ever thought possible, not just because he was gone, but because grief doesn't leave space for anything else. I moved through each day like a ghost, making coffee I never finished, folding laundry that didn't smell like him anymore, sitting in his chair just to feel the shape of where he used to be. Tyler, my husband's son from his first marriage, came home for the funeral. He asked if he could stay a few weeks to help me manage things around the house. I said yes without thinking. I think I just needed someone else to fill the quiet. But what I didn't expect, what I couldn't have predicted, was how much his presence would stir something in me. Not just memories, not just comfort, something else. And it all started one night, during a storm, when the power went out, and he looked at me in a way no one had in years. And I didn't look away. I didn't plan to lean on Tyler. He wasn't my son, not really. I was never close with his mother. And when Nathan and I got married, Tyler had already moved out, chasing college and independence like most young men do. But when he showed up at the door after the funeral, duffel bag slung over his shoulder and eyes tired in a way that didn't match his age, I felt something shift. He looked like Nathan, that same quiet steadiness, that same smile that said, "I'm okay," even when they weren't. He started doing little things without asking, fixing the gutter that had been hanging loose since the last storm, replacing the hallway light bulb I kept forgetting about, making coffee in the morning before I even came downstairs. At first, I thought it was just kindness. A boy trying to be strong for the woman his father once loved. But then, I started to feel it, how he looked at me. Not in a way that was wrong. Not yet. Just, deeper, longer. He'd catch me staring out the window too long and gently set a cup of tea in front of me. Sit with me in silence. And in those moments, I felt seen, not as a widow, not as some stepmother he tolerated, but as a woman, a human being slowly coming back to life. It terrified me, because I wasn't sure where this was heading. But something inside me already knew, it had started. We never talked about it, whatever it was that lingered between us. But it grew in the quiet. Tyler had always been polite, respectful, but now, there was a softness in the way he moved around me, the way he waited for my answers when he asked how I was. The way he smiled when I laughed at one of his silly jokes. Like he'd been waiting to hear it. One morning, I came downstairs and found him in the kitchen, flipping pancakes in my old apron. He looked up and grinned. Thought you could use a break. It was such a small thing, but it almost brought me to tears. Nathan used to do the same, back when things were still warm between us. Before the years got heavy. Before the silences replaced the kisses. "You're spoiling me," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "You deserve it," Tyler replied without hesitation. We ate at the table together. Just the two of us. No phones, no distractions, just two people sharing time. And as the days passed, these little rituals became normal. Shared tea, walks after dinner, the soft click of a movie playing while we sat just a little too close on the couch. One night, during a rainstorm, the power flickered and went out. We lit candles, laughed about it, and played cards like two kids trapped inside. But at some point, the laughter faded. We were sitting on the living room rug, knees almost touching. The candlelight made the room glow gold. I looked up and caught him staring. His eyes didn't move, and neither did mine. The air shifted, my breath caught. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. Something had changed, not just in him, but in me, too. The storm outside grew louder, like it was trying to warn us. Wind slammed against the windows. Thunder rolled in long, slow waves. Inside, everything was still. I reached for another candle, pretending to be occupied, pretending I hadn't noticed the shift between us. Tyler was quiet behind me. I could feel his presence, the way his gaze stayed on me even as I turned away. I set the candle down, hands slightly shaking. "We haven't had a storm like this in years," I said, my voice barely louder than a whisper. Tyler moved closer, sitting down beside me on the rug again. "I used to be scared of storms when I was little," he said softly, "but not because of the thunder. It was the silence after." That made me pause. I looked at him, really looked at him. His eyes weren't just watching me, they were searching for something. Understanding, maybe, permission. "You don't seem scared now," I replied, trying to smile. He shrugged. "I'm not when you're here." It should have been sweet, innocent, but it wasn't. There was weight in those words, a pulse beneath them. I could feel it between us, something rising slowly like water in a glass. No sudden moves, no grand gestures, just a current, silent, steady, pulling us closer. A flicker of lightning flashed, and for a moment I saw his face lit up in gold and shadow. And when the thunder followed, I startled just slightly, enough for Tyler to reach out. His hand brushed mine. I didn't pull away. That simple contact sent a ripple through me. I felt warmth bloom across my chest. Not fear, not confusion. Longing. I looked down at our hands, barely touching. Then up at him. And the silence wrapped around us again. But this time, it didn't feel empty. It felt electric. And terrifying. Because I knew, this wasn't grief anymore. This was something else. I should have gotten up, should have broken the silence, made some awkward joke, walked away, anything to stop what was happening between us. But I didn't. Instead, I stayed there, frozen in place, hyper-aware of the inches between us. Tyler's fingers rested beside mine, not quite touching now, like he was waiting for me to decide what came next. I looked at him again. His expression hadn't changed, still soft, still calm, but there was something in his eyes, unspoken, unsteady, and impossible to ignore. "I miss him," I whispered suddenly. I didn't mean to say it, but the words came like a leak in a dam. Tyler nodded slowly. "I know. And I don't know who I am without him." "You're still you," he said, "even if you forgot for a while." I felt something break open in my chest. I turned my head away, not wanting him to see the tears building, but he reached out and gently touched my cheek. It was so simple, so light. But I hadn't been touched like that in so long. My breath caught, and I closed my eyes without meaning to. His hand didn't move, it just stayed there, warm and steady against my skin. "Tyler," I whispered, unsure of what I was warning him, or myself, about. Then he leaned in. It wasn't sudden, it wasn't hungry or desperate. It was slow, careful, asking. And I didn't stop him. His lips brushed mine, so soft I barely felt it, and then lingered just long enough to be real. When he pulled back, he looked at me like he was terrified of what I might say. But I said nothing. Because the truth was, I didn't regret it. I hated that I didn't. And in that moment, I realized something far scarier than what we'd done. I didn't want it to stop. The moment passed, but the weight of it didn't. After the kiss, we sat there for a long time, saying nothing. The storm outside softened into a steady hum, as if the world had quieted to make space for what had just happened. I stood first. My legs felt unsteady, like I'd stepped onto unfamiliar ground. "I should go to bed," I said, avoiding his eyes. Tyler didn't protest, he only nodded. "Okay." I walked upstairs in the dark. lit only by candlelight. My hands trembled as I brushed my teeth. My reflection looking back at me like a stranger. What did I just allow? What did that make me? I crawled into bed and stared at the ceiling. My heart was still beating too fast. I could still feel the ghost of his touch on my cheek. The way his lips had felt, hesitant, warm, searching. The fact that I hadn't pulled away. Worse, the fact that I hadn't wanted to. I told myself it was just the storm, the grief, the loneliness, that it didn't mean anything. But something inside me, a quieter voice, one I didn't want to listen to, whispered that it did mean something. That something had shifted between us, and no amount of pretending could undo it. The next morning, we didn't speak of it. Tyler made coffee like usual. I joined him at the table. Like usual, but nothing felt usual. He was quieter, more careful, watching me when he thought I wasn't looking. And me, I was pretending. Pretending I was fine. Pretending it hadn't happened. Pretending I didn't feel something tugging at me every time he brushed past. Every time our hands almost touched. That kiss hadn't been an accident. It had been a door. And deep down, I knew we were already on the other side. The days that followed were quiet, too quiet. We moved around each other like strangers, trying not to bump into the memory of what we did. Tyler barely looked at me. He still made the coffee, still watered the plants, still did the dishes after dinner. But the warmth was gone. The easy laughter, the casual closeness. I missed it. But I was also relieved. Because if we kept pretending it hadn't happened, maybe I could convince myself it hadn't. Still, the silence between us felt louder than any argument could have been. I caught myself watching him one morning, just standing at the sink, washing a pan, and I had to look away. My chest ached, not just from guilt, from longing. I hated that part most of all. One night, I overheard him on the phone with someone. He was in the hallway, speaking low. "No, I'm still here. Yeah, it's fine. She's okay, just different lately." I stepped back into the shadows before he could see me. I didn't want to hear more. I didn't want to know how he was explaining me. That night, I couldn't sleep. The memory of the kiss wouldn't leave me alone. It played over and over in my mind like a song I didn't ask to remember. I told myself it was a mistake, a moment of weakness, that it wouldn't happen again. But I didn't believe it. Not really. Because something had already been lit inside me. And no matter how hard I tried to smother it, it was still burning. I thought distance would fix it. That if I just pulled back, emotionally, physically, things would fall back into place. I started staying in my room longer, skipping breakfast, leaving the house just to walk without direction, pretending I had errands to run. Tyler noticed. One evening, I came home to find an envelope resting on my pillow. My name was written on it in his handwriting, small, careful, almost hesitant. I sat on the edge of the bed and opened it. "I'm not trying to make things harder," it began. "I just wanted you to know that I saw you. That night, not just physically, I mean. I saw the woman you keep trying to hide." My throat tightened. "I know it was a mistake. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed to tell you that it mattered to me. Because you do." I folded the letter slowly and held it in my lap. I didn't cry, but I wanted to. That night, I couldn't avoid him. We passed in the hallway after dinner, and our eyes met for the first time in days. There was no anger in his, no shame. Only sadness. And something else, something steady, patient. It was me who broke the moment. "I got your letter," I said quietly. He nodded. I meant every word. I should have left it at that. Walked away, kept my walls up. But instead, I whispered, "I don't know what to do." His reply was simple. "You don't have to do anything. Just be honest with yourself." And that was the problem. Because being honest meant admitting that part of me didn't want to let go. Not of the kiss. Not of the feeling. Not of him. I told myself no one knew. That as long as we stayed quiet, it would stay ours, this strange, fragile secret we didn't know how to name. But the house has a way of remembering things, and people notice more than you think. That morning, I woke up on the couch, a blanket tucked around me. Tyler was asleep in the armchair across from me, his head tilted, mouth slightly open. The candles had burned low, and the room still smelled faintly of smoke and rain. I stretched slowly, then stood, only to see her. Maria, the housekeeper. She'd let herself in with the spare key. She was standing by the front door, frozen, holding a bag of groceries. Her eyes flicked between Tyler and me, and though she said nothing, I saw it in her face. She knew. Not everything, but enough. She smiled politely, quietly went to the kitchen, and unpacked the groceries like she hadn't seen a thing. But the air felt colder after that, like the walls had lost their insulation. I didn't mention it to Tyler, and he didn't ask. But I watched the way Maria glanced at me later, while wiping the counters, her eyes lingering just a beat too long. That night, sleep wouldn't come. I lay awake, heart pounding, mind spinning. What if she told someone? What if it slipped out? What if this house, this space we were hiding inside, wasn't as private as I thought? And worse, what if I wanted her to tell? Because part of me was so tired of hiding, of pretending, of tiptoeing around something that had already crossed the line. I was unraveling, and I didn't know how to stop it. Maybe I didn't want to. Because as wrong as it all felt, I'd never felt more alive. The days kept moving forward, but inside, I felt stuck, like something had been left wide open, and I couldn't close it. Tyler didn't bring it up again. He didn't need to. We lived like it never happened, but the space between us carried it like static. The way his fingers brushed mine at the sink, the way he lingered when saying goodnight. It was all quiet, unspoken, but still alive. Maria never said anything, but sometimes, when she passed me in the hallway, I felt her eyes, not judgmental, just knowing. And that made it worse. Because silence isn't always safe. Sometimes, it's where shame grows best. I tried to pray, tried to journal, tried to write it off as loneliness, trauma, misfired grief, but that night keeps coming back, the storm, the flicker of candlelight, the way his hand reached for mine and I didn't move. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a crack in everything I believed about myself. And I still haven't looked away. Because the truth is, it made me feel something. Seen, desired, chosen. And that scares me more than anything. So now, I lie awake most nights, asking myself the same question over and over. Was it grief? Or was it something I chose? Would you have stopped him?